Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Silverstone. Welcome to race 2 of the weekend. Welcome to another exciting season of the FIA F3 European Championship. I'm Chris Hartley here trackside, and there you can see the cars are on the grid getting ready for our second of 3 races this weekend. The weather is much brighter and a little bit warmer than it was yesterday, although it is typically windy here at Silverstone, so there is a spring chill in the air, but the weather and the track look set to be dry for the course of this race, which is more than can be said for race 1 yesterday, where the cars all came out onto the grid with slick tyres on. There have been 1 or 2 spots of rain just about 20 minutes before they came onto the grid, and then lo and behold, we had some rain, light rain, but when you're travelling at 190 kilometres an hour average speed around this circuit and you've got slick tyres on, it doesn't take much to make it treacherous in terms of the conditions. So we started behind the safety car yesterday for a couple of laps, then we got going, and then we had all sorts of dramas, several cars running wide, there was some contact, a couple of cars coming off, and the big moment was when the driver in second place at the end of the second flying lap, Callum Ilott, went off at Abbey Corner just off camera and just hit a damp patch and spiralled out of control into the gravel trap and out of the race, which will be bitterly disappointing, but he has a very good chance to put things right today because he is on pole position for this second race, and he'll be on pole position for tomorrow's race as well. The British driver, who's in his 3rd season of Formula 3 racing, and with his 3rd different team, having started with Carlin, made his debut here at Silverstone in 2015 and got into the points on his very first race, did Callum Ilott, and impressed. And then he moved to Van Amersfoort Racing last year and went very well indeed in the championship. Became a race winner and finished 6th overall. He got a couple of wins actually, 1 at Paul Ricard and 1 at the Red Bull Ring, and some outstanding performances, including an outstanding drive in the wet conditions at the Hungaro Ring in mid-season. So if you like your racing close, you've come to the right place, because the second qualifying session, which gave us the grid for this and race 3, we had 80 thousandths of a second covering the top 4 drivers. Callum Ilott is going to be on pole position for Prema Power Team, his new team for the year, and the team that has won the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship every time since the current version of the Formula 3 Championship came into being in 2012. And the Italian team are very much the team to beat, and Callum has gone there as part of a very strong driver lineup with Guan Yu Zhu, who was one of the front runners in last year's Rookie Championship, the Chinese driver, who's very talented and backed by the Ferrari Driver Academy. Mick Schumacher is making his debut this season in Formula 3, having been a front runner in the German Formula 4 Championship last year, and he is also on the Prema books this year. And Max Gunter, who was 2nd in the championship to Lance Stroll last year, is the 4th of their drivers. So those 4 drivers at the front of the grid, who are separated by basically nothing, are Callum Ilott, Lando Norris for Carlin, more about him in a second, Joel Eriksson for Motor Park, and Max Gunter for Prema. Nothing between them at all in qualifying, so we can expect a fantastic race. So Lando Norris made his first victory in the Formula 3 Championship yesterday. It wasn't his debut in Formula 3. He did the last round at Hockenheim, did 3 races at Hockenheim last season as build-up to the Macau GP, in which he competed and finished in 11th place in the end. So it wasn't his debut in F3, but this is his first full season, his debut full season. And what a debut it was. He got pole position for the race yesterday. He dealt with everything that was thrown at him. He won the race. He won it fairly comfortably, it has to be said, even though the safety car kept bunching people up. There were 3 safety cars once the race got underway, and the damp conditions, he coped with those, he coped with all the restarts, and he also got the lap record because there's some updates to the chassis and the safety structures, but also to the amount of downforce that the cars have this year. So they were half a second quicker than the lap record pace yesterday, even though the conditions weren't quite ideal. It was a little bit cool, and of course the track was still drying. There is the grid for this race. The top 4 I've told you about. Jake Hughes will be one to watch. Now, he didn't have a great first qualifying session, so he had to come from the middle of the grid in yesterday's race, which is never easy in Formula 3 when there's nothing between the lot of them. He came from 11th place, but there he is, 5th on the grid, having come from the GP3 Championship, and there with the High-Tech Grand Prix team, who are based here just down the road from Silverstone, their home race, because they went very well in the championship with George Russell yesterday. So watch for Jake Hughes. who is going to be there on the third row of the grid. And alongside with him on the third row of the grid is another newcomer to the championship, the 18-year-old from Mumbai in India, Jehan Daravala, who is with the Carlin team and is a Force India Formula One protege. He moved into cars 2 years ago after he won the Force India 1 in a billion talent hunt during his karting days. So they've supported him throughout his car racing career, and he's come predominantly from Formula Renault racing. In 2015, he finished actually in 5th place in the Formula Renault Northern European Championship with the Fortec team, the British team, which was a very good effort in his first season. And last year, he finished 4th in the same championship, became a race winner. He also did some Formula Renault Eurocup races, was a top 10 finisher in that championship. And last year was 2nd in the Toyota Racing Series, just behind Lando Norris. That was at the start of the 2016 season. At the start of the 2017 season, it was effectively a winter championship down in New Zealand. He finished in 5th place coming into this season in that Toyota Racing Series with a couple of wins and 5 poles. So Jehan is a very, very capable young driver and will be one to watch, I think, this season. He went well in the qualifying sessions. He's there on the third row of the grid. He was one of the drivers that struggled a bit when the rain came down yesterday, but understandably, because he's never been here before, and he wouldn't have driven in those conditions around this circuit. But he got himself in the points, and if you can get into the points on your debut, then I think you'd be relatively pleased with that. So Jehan finishing in 10th place yesterday and picking up the final points finish. So Lando Norris was the winner yesterday. Jake Dennis was the other star of the show, particularly when that rain fell, because he started 8th on the grid. Jake, you will remember from the 2014 and 2015 championships. In fact, he was on the podium here at Silverstone in the 2015 season when we came here last. We didn't race at Silverstone last season. Even though it's his home country, he said in the press conference afterwards, you know, everybody expects you to do well because it's your home circuit. You know, you're British, it's Silverstone, but it's just one of those circuits that I don't quite get on with. It's not my favourite circuit at all. I definitely go better at other circuits. So to get 2nd place, which is what he did, from 8th on the grid was exceptional. And he did all that really when we had those damp conditions for the first few laps of the race. And the one particularly outstanding move of the race was around the outside of Joel Eriksson at Copse Corner, which was a hugely brave move and very committed and full of confidence, and it was a super move. And passing Joel Eriksson is never easy. Passing him around the outside is near on impossible, so that was one of the star points of the race. Another good move came later in the race from Guan Yu Zhu, who overtook Mick Schumacher around the outside at Stowe Corner. And Mick was involved in all sorts of battles yesterday. He probably had the most entertaining race. He had a duel for a few laps with his old Formula 4 sparring partner, Joey Mawson, Joey the Australian, who went really well for Van Amersfoort, finished in 5th place. And he won the German Formula 4 Championship last year with the same team. And his rival for the title was Mick Schumacher, and they've both come into Formula 3. They both went wheel to wheel yesterday. And I had a chat with Joey this morning and mentioned the battle, and he had a wry grin on his face. And he definitely enjoyed coming out on top in that one, let me tell you. And then once Joey had gone away, because he had good pace, Harrison Newey came storming through the field. So he had another Van Amersfoort driver to deal with. Harrison with a great drive from 16th through to 6th place. So he had a little battle with Schumacher on the way through. And then after that, Schumacher had to deal with a very quick Guan Yu Zhu at the end of the race. Kind of struggled a bit for the first few laps in those damp conditions, but he was charging at the end of the race, and they had probably the best battle of the race for 4 or 5 laps until Guan eventually got around the outside of him. So Lando Norris, Jake Dennis and Max Gunter were the top 3 yesterday as we head off onto the green flag formation now. It is, as ever, a 33-minute plus 1 lap race here at Silverstone. And on pole position, Callum Ilott will be utterly determined to get himself a race victory here. It's one of the circuits, of course, where the more experienced drivers have some experience, although not everybody. If you were here racing like Callum was and Jake Dennis was in the 2015 season, you'll have raced an F3 car around here. But even for drivers in their 2nd season, because we didn't come in 2016, this is a new experience for them. And there was only one test here, and that was in December, and that's not entirely useful for the teams when you come here in April and the conditions and the track temperatures are very, very different. Speaking to Fritz van Amersfoort, the VAR team boss, this morning, and he said, you know, it's difficult when you come in December because it takes 20 or 30 laps for the tyres to get up to temperature, so you don't learn too much about the setup. And Van Amersfoort Racing had obviously quick race cars yesterday with those performances from Joey Mawson in 5th and Harrison Newey in 6th from 16th on the grid. But they did struggle in qualifying. It was no one thing in particular, Fritz said this morning. It was just lots of little bits everywhere. And he said it's such a competitive championship. If you're just a couple of tenths off the pace, you're nowhere. And, you know, effectively yesterday, in the first qualifying session, or on Friday evening, I should say, we had the top 12 covered by just half a second. So if you lose half a tenth here and half a tenth there, a few spots around the lap, you can suddenly find yourself 2 tenths off the pace, and 2 tenths off the pace is usually about 6 places down the grid. That is how tight it is in this championship. Fritz said actually there were some parts, because they're allowed to see the pole sitters' laps, everybody gets to share that data, so they've seen the laps, the flying laps from Lando Norris and from Callum Ilott, the 2 pole sitters this weekend. And Fritz Van Amersfoort was saying, well, actually, our car was quicker than their car through some sections. It was slower in others, but it was quicker in certain sections. So it's not like there are slow cars out there. We're all quick, but it's just fine margins. So the grid in full, Callum Ilott and Lando Norris on the front row for Prema and Carlin respectively. Carlin and Lando Norris getting their 20th Formula 3 victory in this new version of the European Championship yesterday. Joel Eriksson for Motor Park and Max Gunter for Prema on row 2. Jake Hughes for High Tech and Jehan Daravala for Carlin are on row 3. Jake Dennis for Carlin and Prema driver Guan Yuzhu are on row 4. And to complete the top 10, we have Mick Schumacher for Prema and Tadasuke Makino, the Japanese rookie driver for High Tech. And then on row 6, it's Joey Mawson for Van Amersfoort, Ferdinand Hamsberg, the Austrian newcomer for Carlin. Row 7, it's Ralph Aron for High Tech, who's one of the drivers that was involved in contact yesterday and didn't finish the race. Likewise, his teammate, High Tech GP driver Nikita Mazepan, who had one of his better qualifying sessions yesterday to get 7th on the grid for the first race. He's a bit further back for this one. Wasn't his best. He got 3rd on the grid in one of the races at Spa last year. But Nikita definitely looking improved over the winter. Pedro Piquet for VAR and Harrison Newey for VAR will be ones to watch perhaps from the 8th row of the grid. Marino Sato, the Japanese driver for Motor Park, and David Beckman for VAR are on the 9th row. The 10th row is Kevin Andres Sori, the German driver. The green flag is waved here at Silverstone then. To the left of your picture is Lando Norris, yesterday's race winner, but with their 89th pole position, it is Callum Ilott, 53, who leads the race off the line. It's a very good start. It's not a very good start at all for Lando Norris. He's going to slip back out of the top 6 here. Had a rolling start yesterday, not the standing start, and he struggled off the line this time. And look at Joel Eriksson, number 1 here on the attack already, but Callum Ilott has got the best line on the way to Village Corner and will fend him off. And Jake Hughes has had a very good start as well for High Tech. He's just behind in 3rd place. That looks like Max Gunter. Ralf Schumacher's had a good start. He's trying to get into the top 6 as well. So he's having a really good start to this race, just behind. And there is Lando Norris, who is having to go on the back foot here on the way down the Wellington Straight to avoid losing further places as Joel Eriksson goes around the outside at Brooklands Corner and gets the lead of the race. Typical Joel Eriksson move that. He'll have a go anywhere. He's brilliant to watch, and that was superb. There is Ralph Aron, number 7, trying to get in the mix and trying to make up some places here in this race after yesterday's disappointment. He's on the tail of the number 96 orange and black VAR car of Joey Mawson, the Australian. Look at Jake Hughes in 4th place, all over the back of the 2nd place man. Here's this battle, which has got Lando Norris at the back of it, and Ralph Aron, number 7, in the middle. They all go out wide coming out of Copse Corner, but these days there's loads of runoff there, so it won't scrub off too much speed, but they have to be careful of track limits if they do that too often. So they're pushing on here, attacking already at Silverstone. There is Harrison Newey on his teammate. Harrison is number 17. Pedro Piquet, son of the 3-time world champion Nelson Piquet, is in the number 5 car, and that was a good move on the way through Beckett's. He made it stick. So on the attack once more for Harrison Newey. Tremendous stuff. Jake Dennis with a decent start is in 5th place. Just off that lead quartet. Ralph Aron having a look down the inside on the way into Stowe Corner, but it should be Joel Eriksson that leads the way at the end of the first lap of the race. More action here. That's Guan Yuzhu, number 8, getting a move on the brakes on the way through Stowe to get ahead of Ralph Aron, who has now got Joey Mawson alongside him. You gain one, you lose one in these battles when they're all so close together. And back onto the start-finish straight towards Abbey Corner they go, the corner where Callum Ilott went off in the damp yesterday to start lap 2 through that whipping left-hander at Farm, and then on the brakes into Village Corner. Joey Mawson, number 96, then in 7th place. Lando Norris at the end of the first lap of the race, just behind him in 8th position, having started on the front row of the grid. Guan Yuzhu at the head of this train that we're looking at, 9th into the 9th place with David Beckman behind him. and David Bettman getting a tow here. The two high-tech drivers, one of them, which is Mazipan, just behind as well, battling together. Daravala's had a bad start. He's dropped down to 12th place, which is why he's down there with his teammate, having started on the 6th row of the grid. There's the number 11 high-tech car of Tadasuke Makino, which is just at the tail of this midfield battle as well. 1.9-second lead for Joel Eriksson at the end of the first lap, which is pretty impressive, given he only got the lead halfway around the lap into Brooklands corner. So it's Eriksson from Ilott, Hughes third, Gunter in fourth, Dennis fifth, Schumacher sixth, Mawson seventh, Norris eighth, Zhu is ninth, and Bettman at the moment rounds out the top 10 with Ralph Aron just outside the points in 11th place and looking pretty racy. Race winner, of course, last year with the Prema team was Ralph Aron, who, like Guan Yu Zhu and Mick Schumacher and quite a few other drivers, came through the Formula 4 route. He actually contested and won the the Italian Formula 3 Championship as Jake Hughes there with his nose in front of Gunter. So he's got through and covers his line off on the way into Val Corner, picked up the tow, and it was a relatively straightforward move. So Jake Hughes making the most of this. The Birmingham-based driver pushing on, having, as I said, come from the GP3 Championship last year, loving these cars, loving all the extra aero that he gets, and as I said yesterday, was pretty amazed first time he drove the car around here that you could go in 6th gear through Stowe Corner. He's having to defend though, isn't he, because Max Gunter wants a position back in the number 3 Prema car, and this is allowing Jake Hughes in the blue Carling car to get onto their tail. He's number 21, so Jake Dennis with good race pace. Wasn't quite on it in qualifying, but come the races, Jake has got plenty of pace, and even when it dried out yesterday, he looked very quick, and here he comes alongside Max Gunter, but there's a left-hander coming up. Gunter will have the better line, and he takes a defensive run through Brooklands corner, gets right across to the right-hand side on the way into Luffield. One of the bumpiest corners around the course, and then they accelerate through Woodcut corner now, using the curbs to great effect. Schumacher there, number 25 with the yellow and green helmet, is just dropping off their pace a little bit. And Lando Norris is just at the fastest first sector of the lap. So Lando in 8th place, starting to come good. There he is in the black and yellow Carling car, number 31. And his target is Joey Mawson just ahead, number 96. He was on the rookie podium yesterday. Lando himself a rookie, was the overall race winner. Joey Mawson was on the rookie podium in 5th place overall, the 3rd best rookie, and getting a trophy yesterday was Mick Schumacher. Through they come under the Hanger Bridge and down towards Stowe, 6th gear, holding it on the throttle through here. Incredibly quick corner, closing right up under braking. Well, not braking, but closing right up at the end of the straight is Lando Norris onto the tail of Joey Mawson. I think they're both inching towards the back of Mick Schumacher as well. Joel Eriksson has just set the fastest lap of the race. Sectors 2 and 3 went purple for him on the timing screen, so 1 minute 51.193 seconds. That record set yesterday by Lando Norris, 1 minute 51.183. So he's 100th away from the lap record, and surely that is going to be broken again today. No extra horsepower for the cars in the updates that the cars have had over the winter to take them through to 2019. Look at this. This is 55 David Bettman coming up against the 27 Carling car of Jayan Daravala. Daravala is itching to get past. This is for 10th place, so it's to get himself back into the points here. Daravala feigns one to the outside and tries a move, and then we cut to Lando Norris, number 31, who's right with Joey Mawson. Guan Yu Zhu is sort of on his own at the moment. Then we have this battle for the final points position between the 55 car of David Bettman, one of the younger drivers in the field, and Jayan Daravala. And now Lando Norris has got the tow. He's trying to find a gap between the VAR car and the pit wall, but there isn't one, so he has to go back to the outside through Copse Corner. And we saw this yesterday at times. There was some good attacking moves from Joey Mawson, but there was some good defensive driving from him as well, putting the car without sweeping around too much in exactly the right place. They whip their way through the Beckett's complex once more, and through there, the VAR car seems to pull away. Joey Mawson on his first ever visit to Silverstone. Here's Ralph Aron down the inside of David Bettman in the 55 car. So again, more good midfield tussles here, and that will put him up to 11th place, Ralph Aron. There is Harrison Newey starting to charge through the field once more, picking up a double toe and going down the inside of everybody, or trying to. but it doesn't quite work. He gets one, he gets ahead of Aaron, slots in between them. So, didn't get past Bettman, although he tried to get past the pair of them, but he did get ahead of Aaron, who's going forwards one and backwards one at the moment, and not quite getting himself into the points in the silver and blue number 7 car, the Estonian driver. At the head of the field, fastest final sector of the lap to Callum Eilert. Gap's 2.3 seconds between the top two. 1:51.2, not far away from yesterday's lap record pace either. Lando Norris is still stuck in 8th place. So Harrison Newey is up into 12th position now, having started this race back on the 8th row of the grid. So he's gone from 16th to 12th, from 16th to 6th yesterday, and definitely seems to have good race pace here. Harrison won the MRF Challenge over the Winter, the Indian Championship, and won that on back of number of race wins in a very tight championship. Take his first car racing title. There is Joey Mawson, there is Lando Norris, and there is not much of a gap between them. They haven't quite caught up to the tail of Schumacher yet, have they? So on the way to Copse Corner, I don't think there'll be any overtaking at that point. Number 17, Harrison Newey, still desperately trying to move forwards. If he can get past his next target, which is David Bettman, his teammate. Still quite a big gap to try and get up to Daravala, who is in the top 10 now, and pulling away, just flashing through the shot there, in the silver number 27 car. And Daravala, having got into that 10th place, is sort of rocket shipped away now, making the most of it. Looks to have very good pace in the race, which is no surprise, given how well he went in qualifying. Look how far clear he is of the battle, which he was involved with just 2 laps ago. Harrison Newey not close enough to attack just yet. 11th, 12th, 13th is the battle you are looking at. Car number 3 must respect track limits. That's Max Gunter, whose first track limits offence has been noted. Car 47 also getting noted on the screen is Kevin Andres Sori, the motor park driver. Coming into the championship, he has been noted as getting a bit close to the track limits at times. Sori, who's 17 from Cologne, and came up through the Euro Formula Open Championship, which he contested last season with the Carlin team. Carlin, of course, know this circuit and know the setup of this circuit better than anyone else, with multiple British Formula 3 titles. Victorious here with Tom Blomqvist in one of the races for the Jagonia IAM Carlin team in 2014. So it very much is a track where they should shine. Maybe at other circuits, Prema will look to be even more competitive, but it's never been a circuit where Prema have utterly dominated, unlike some other circuits. Look at this, Lando Norris, almost on the shoulder now of Joey Mawson. This is the battle for 7th place, and Lando is closer than he's ever been. All the Australian can do is hug the inside line and try and defend on the way into Copse Corner, and he'll succeed in keeping his position through there. Maybe he can go around the outside in the wet, but more difficult in the dry. Actually kill that much speed through Copse Corner. It's into the heavy braking zones where you have your best chances of overtaking, and once you get behind somebody, you do get all the turbulence from their rear wing, so what's called the dirty air, and it's nowhere near as bad as the effect you get in the Formula 1 car, but it is still a factor. So look at this long line of cars, led by number 34, Jake Hughes in 3rd place, edging away from Max Gunter in 4th, having disposed of him at this part of the course a few laps ago. Gap has stayed at 1.9 seconds. Joel Eriksson got that 1.9 second lead on the first lap, as Nikita Mazepin has a look down the inside of Pedro Piquet in the number 5 car. Piquet just running out wide, but keeping his position here. And a replay of a slidey, slippery moment for Nikita Mazepin. It's potentially contributed to the positions being switched. And now Mazepin, number 99, he's in a bit of strife here from Ferdinand Habsburg, who qualified pretty well for this race in the middle of the pack. Let's drop back a bit. There is Habsburg in the number 62 Carlin car. Trying his best to find a way through the Austrian driver. So you see, one lap you're attacking, the next lap you're defending. Defending again, though, is Joey Mawson. And look at this, almost wheel to wheel, just a few centimetres between their wheels. As Lando Norris goes on the attack, finds a line here. He's committed to the outside line at Lovefield. He's going to have to stay there. He can't back off out of it now. But again, Joey Mawson just lets the car drift out onto the racing line and shuts the door gently but firmly in the face of Lando Norris, who you feel if he could get past Joey, he could shoot after everybody else, but he's just being frustrated here by the Australian, who is not making any mistakes, not leaving the door open, and driving a strong race. And of course, that brings now Guan Yu Zhou onto the tail of Lando Norris, so he's got to be careful here that if he attacks, he actually makes the move stick, because if he goes for a half move and has to get off the throttle for a fraction of a second, Guan Yu Zhou, the Chinese driver, is going to be in like Flynn and past him with a bat of an eye. It's a tremendous battle here. It's spread out a little bit from third, fourth, fifth. Callum Ilot's made a bit of time up on Joel Eriksson, but it is only a tenth of a second. But let's see what the pace is like in Callum's car toward the end of the race. I suspect many of them will have opted to at least put a couple of new slick tyres on for this race, because there is the threat that tomorrow's race might be rain affected. We heard in the latest forecast. Could be a patchy rain throughout the course of the day, but there could be some early morning rain, and tomorrow is the first track action of the day for Formula 3. They kick off the race at 9 o'clock in the morning. 19.5 minutes to go. Harrison Newey trying to close down David Beckman, and doing so at a rate of about 2 to 3/10 of a second a lap. So Newey, in about 2 laps' time, should be onto the tail of Beckman. And I would think now Lando Norris is absolutely sick of the sight of Joey Mawson's gearbox, because he's been following him ever since the start of the race. It's his third year with the Van Amersfoort Racing team, having come up through the Formula 4 ranks with them. Norris putting that car in the right place. Now he might just see a gap down the inside into left field. He does! Great move that. He worked it and he worked it and he worked it. And smart thinking that. That's one of the great things about racing drivers. It's not just how quick they can drive these things, it's how smart they are as well. And how they assess the opportunities and assess the possible weaknesses, and they just make these moves happen by creating them over a couple of corners and trying different things on different laps. And he knew if he could just stick it there, he'd have the better line into left field. And that was a very smart move by Lando Norris. Good fight, though, from Joey Mawson to keep him at bay for so long. We'll see what his real speed is like now. So now Joey's got to deal with more people trying to pass him. Guan Yu Zhou in the number 8 Prema car. He'll be pushing on hard. First time to Silverstone, because he didn't race in the championship in 2015. That year he was busy finishing second in the Italian F4 championship. Guan likes to go around the outside of people. He's shown it before. He's trying to do it again here at Stowe Corner. But Joey Mawson is making his elbows very wide indeed here. But there's a gap coming here on the way into Vale, and Guan Yu Zhou down the inside. And again, that was a case of making the move happen the corner before, and then reaping the benefits on the way into the next braking zone. But Joey's not done yet. Look, he gets a slightly better run coming out of the corner. He darts this way, then he darts that way. Just behind them is Daravala, who's got right with them as well. So it's a three-way battle. There's tremendous stuff. Guan Yu Zhou is at the head of that train in 8th place, 8th, 9th and 10th. So these are the final 3-point scorers in this race. Daravala is absolutely flying, isn't he, in the number 27 machine. The Sahara Force India back driver, who started 6th on the grid, dropped back out of the points at one position, but he's back in the points now and charging along. There's Nikita Mazepin still trying to fend off the blue Carling car of Ferdinand Habsburg. So those two currently are 17th and 18th. Guan Yu Zhou, and then it is Daravala who gets through. Lovely move. And that again was a brave piece of driving. So Daravala gains a place and gets through. Mawson just starting to struggle a bit now, falling back down the pack. Still in the points, just about. And there's Harrison Newey, who is now ahead of David Beckman. Look, so Newey was catching him. It was almost inevitable that he would get past his teammate, and now he has done so. The son of Adrian Newey, of course, the technical director of the Red Bull Formula 1 team. Chief technical officer of the team. Formula 1 race in Bahrain, of course, this weekend. Adrian Newey designed cars having more than 80 Grand Prix victories between them. And Harrison, the MRF champion, winning that one over the winter. His Formula 3 debut season was last year. Finished second. Sorry, got 2 rookie podiums in the season, one at the Red Bull Ring and one at Spa, and certainly started to score more and more points and top 10 finishes towards the end of the season. Raced here previously in the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, in which he was the runner-up in 2015. So Harrison Newey, number 17, flying after the points. Here we go again. This is Nikita Mazepin on the attack this time on Tadazika Makino, and getting through ahead of his teammate. In his second year now of the Formula 3 Championship, Mazepin battling and battling, and They're giving it absolutely everything, even though these drivers are not yet in the points. But you've got to try and beat your teammates first up. And the man from Moscow with a tidy move there. There he is in the 99 orange car, one of the drivers that was unlucky yesterday. Seemed to be a bit of target practice, did Mazepin. He got hit twice, spun around at the start, and then later in the lap at Woodcut, spun around and into the gravel trap. So he'll be trying to prove a point here, but this is his worst grid position of the weekend. He'll be 11th on the grid tomorrow, and with more chance of scoring points. Ralph Aron is in the number 7 car there. One of the motor park cars behind him is Marino Sato, another newcomer to the championship. We have drivers this season from all over the world, from 11 different countries, including 2 Japanese drivers, of which Sato and Makino are the 2 that represent that country. Sato racing in Italian Formula 4 for the last couple of seasons. Won a race at Imola last year, although it was a bit of a season of highs and lows for him. Didn't do as well as he did in the 2015 season, where he finished in the top 10 in the very competitive Italian Formula 4 championship. The German motor park team, though, have their man still leading the race, because it is Joel Eriksson at the head of the field. But as you can see, the gap is coming down. It was 1.9 seconds a few laps ago. It's now 0.9 seconds. So Callum Ilott is reading him in. There they are, the 2 leaders. Joel Eriksson in the number 1 car. Last year's champion, of course, was Lance Stroll for Prema, but I've given the number 1 to Joel Eriksson because he is the rookie champion from last year. Chat with the Swede yesterday after his drive, and he was pretty pleased with the way things went. Again, given that he's not been here before, he didn't even come and do the test in December. So to be leading the race is exceptional, and the BMW junior driver, absolutely a star of the future. He's from Tomelilla in southern Sweden, and he's just 18 years of age. There, the gap, though, is coming down. Again, came through Formula 4 racing, runner-up in 2015 in the German Formula 4 Championship with the motorpark team, based near the Oschersleben, just outside the gates of the Oschersleben racetrack. And he's absolutely pushing here to the limits, but Callum Ilott is hanging on to him on some laps and closing the gap to him on others. There's the 33, another motorpark car is Marino Sato. We've seen in this battle a bit further down at the field. Ralph Aron is ahead of him in the silver and blue high-tech car. Second season since the high-tech GP team was formed with Oliver Oakes and David Hale at the helm, and multiple race wins with George Russell in the championship last year, high-tech. But their man definitely coming under attack here, isn't he? Gap's very, very close between most drivers out there. I've got somebody to race with. There's hardly anybody that's out there on their own, nobody to battle. High-tech with an excellent season, taking George Russell. He's moved on to GP3 this year to 3rd place in the championship. But F3 has very much, this FIA F3 European Championship, become a feeder series, and one of the main feeder series to Formula 1, hasn't it? Of course, Max Verstappen went straight from karts into this championship, did a season in F3, and then went straight to F1, and is now a Grand Prix winner and regular podium finisher. Max Verstappen, who came up through the VAR team, the Van Amersfoort racing team, with whom his dad Josh Verstappen had raced some years earlier during his junior single-seater career. And Lance Stroll from this championship, the champion of last year, the Canadian, moving into Formula 1 with the Williams team this season. Esteban Ocon, former champion of F3 in the championship this year. And yesterday came the news that in the new FIA Formula 2 Championship, a couple of ex-Formula 3 drivers did rather well in qualifying. Charles Leclerc and Antonio Fuoco, both Ferrari development drivers, junior drivers rather, coming 1st and 2nd in the qualifying session in F2 in Bahrain. So it's great to see all these talents coming through Formula 3, and it attracts more and more star drivers into the championship, as you can see from the quality of the field that we've got out there. They are all drivers that have won races or won championships or come close to winning championships in other junior categories. Joey Mawson then is under attack because Harrison Newey has called him up. Number 17 is Harrison Newey, 96 is Joey Mawson, and this is for the final championship point. Been very impressed with Harrison's racecraft here, and he's been going well in the testing. And look at this, as we go wheel to wheel on the way to Beckett's. Lovely move that from Marino Sato. He gets through on Ralph Aron. Brave stuff for 13th place. Ralph Aron looked pretty racy early on, but he's just gone off the boil a bit in terms of his pace in the last 4 or 5 minutes. And on the back foot, doesn't look like he's going to pick up any points here. At least, hopefully, he'll get a race finish. There's Mick Schumacher, number 25, and look who's caught him up, Lando Norris. So this is for 6th place. It's taken him a long time to catch up to Schumacher because the gap had become so big with all those laps that he got stuck behind Joey Mawson. You can see the gap is coming down at a couple of tenths of a second per lap, though. And Lando Norris is going to try and dispose of him as quickly as possible. We saw yesterday that Mick Schumacher will not be easy to pass at all. Somebody has come into the pits and just below the commentary box, and a drive-through penalty board was being held by one of the marshals. So Mazipan's come into the pits. Drive-through penalty. There you go. So drive-through penalty. Doesn't give the reason why. Could be an issue with driving standards, or it could be track limits. The amount of track limits notifications that are coming on the screen, people being watched by race control by the stewards, I would suspect the latter, but we'll find out after the race for sure. Here's Ferdinand Habsburg, number 62, track challenging 15th place, Pedro Piquet. And Habsburg raced in the Euro Formula Open Championship last year, got a couple of wins, and look at this, number 33 charging around the outside again. It's Marino Sato, another brave move. He's impressive, isn't he? And getting away now from David Beckman, so that's up to 12th place. Well, he's pulled off a couple of stunning moves in the last 2 laps, one here at Beckett's and one there at Copse Corner. There's Pedro Piquet, number 5, coming on to Ralph Aron now, the Brazilian, former multiple Brazilian F3 champion, runs out wide though and goes on the grass in the number 5 VAR car, and there are 2 of his teammates. And the Dutch team, with their international field, more than 40 years they've been competing, a hugely experienced team, VAR, and Habsburg he's now ahead of Piquet in that 62 car, second in the Euro Formula Open Championship last year, so used to driving very quick single-seaters. And it was probably as a result of this move, wasn't it? Because he just went a bit loose coming out of the corner, 4 wheels on the grass, lost his traction, lost his drive, and then would have lost his top speed. Brief look at Joel Eriksson, who's pulled back away now from Callum Ilott. The gap is 1.3 seconds. It did come down to just over half a second at one point, but the last few laps he's pulled away. Drive-through penalty for car number 5, Pedro Piquet. Guessing that's track limits, isn't it? Not that the one we saw on screen particularly would have helped his speed. But track limits, you have to stay within the white lines around the edge of the circuit as much as you can. As Harrison Newey goes for it on Joey Mawson. He's not messing around. First chance, and he's in, and he's through. Lovely move. Harrison Newey into the points from lowly grid positions for the 2nd time running. Tremendous stuff. Joey Mawson definitely struggling a bit, isn't he? With the car, maybe saving some better tyres for tomorrow. But had good pace yesterday, but it's not quite there for Joey today. Car 62 must respect track limits is the sign that comes up on the timing screen now. So Ferdinand Habsburg is the latest driver to be watched. We've got 7 minutes to go, plus 1 lap. There is Lando Norris in 7th place, and still trying to find a way past Schumacher. There's Max Gunter in the foreground. Jake Dennis is right with him. Feigns a move down the inside on the way into Stowe. Track drops away here, down into a bit of a dip, a valley, then uphill braking on the way into Vale. Dennis again shows his nose, but that's just to try and put off Max Gunter, but Gunter's having none of it and keeps ahead. So that's the battle for 4th place. It's Eriksson leading from Ilott, Hughes is 3rd, Gunter and Dennis are 4th and 5th, Schumacher is 6th. There is Jake Dennis, number 21, the most experienced driver currently in the field, having had 2 full seasons in 2014 and 2015. Jake picking up his 20th podium yesterday in Formula 3, and is a 6th-time race winner. His best season coming in his 2nd season of Formula 3, when he finished in 3rd place in the championship, behind Felix Rosenquist, that year's champion, and Antonio Giovinazzi, who's another ex-F3 racer who has moved into Formula 1. And although it's not his favourite circuit, Jake did get 2 podiums that day. Last time we were here in 2015, 2 third-place finishes out of the 3 races that we had. So, although it's not his favourite, he's still a quick driver, and he's still a proper racer, and he'll still try and get as much silverware as he can. Confirmed to me yesterday that he is looking at just doing the first 3 rounds of the championship, because he's racing in the Blancpain GT Championship, backed by Racing Steps Foundation, racing an Audi R8, already at the points in that one. And he is here to help the team develop, help the Carlin team develop. So just here for the first 3 rounds, not in for any more than that. Joel Eriksson then is your race leader. A black and white flag to the 62 car, which is Ferdinand Habsburg, who's already been picking up some issues in terms of track limits. Joel Eriksson is 1.4 seconds to the good now. He's just done his personal best first sector. Callum Ilott second, and then there's quite a big gap back to Jake Hughes. He is pretty much the only one out there on his own at the moment. He's 9.9 seconds behind second place, but 3 seconds clear of Max Gunter in 4th position. Jake Dennis in 5th, Schumacher a couple of seconds, nearly 3 seconds behind him in 6th place. And then just half a second behind him, Lando Norris. And the more Lando gets stuck behind Schumacher, the more he is caught by Guan Yu Zhu as well. So Guan Yu Zhu coming in the mix. Another one comes into the pits for a drive-through penalty by the looks of things. And it was a VAR car that flashed underneath the commentary box. So they are keeping a beady eye on all of this, the officials. Just over 4 minutes plus a lap to go in the race. And everybody's still running at the moment. Black and white flag now goes to number 27. That is the Carlin driver, Jayan Daravala, the Indian driver, getting a warning. So if he exceeds the track limits one more time, he's going to be in strife. And Lando Norris getting an issue warning as well. Apologies for the delay, just getting some issues with the pictures in the commentary box, i.e. not getting any. So, off the screen, 15 laps complete, 1.3 seconds. Joel Eriksson flashes past the window of the commentary box. Callum Ilott going with him, a 1:52.0 for Eriksson, 1:51.9, slightly quicker, but only half a tenth quicker for Callum Ilott. Jake Hughes all on his own, goes across the start-finish line, looking for his second podium in the championship, because he was another driver that did the final round of the championship last year and had a good weekend at Hockenheim, 4th in one race and 3rd in the other. Max Gunter 0.7 of a second clear at the moment. Jake Dennis 0.6 of a second behind Max Gunter. But on that lap, Gunter actually edged away. It was 55 with the drive-through penalty, David Bettman. So drive-through penalty for 55, David Bettman. And we didn't have any of this yesterday, but I think they might have perhaps been a little bit more lenient given the fact that we had those damp conditions. But the sun coming out now, track temperature warming up all the time. And still relatively quick lap times. Nobody's going as quick as they were at the start of the race. That good tyres not giving their best anymore after a long race. But Joel Eriksson is, for the time being, just about fending off Callum Ilott, half a tenth of a second. He will need to keep pushing, though, because Callum, if he gets a chance, will go for it, I'm sure. Second place will still be a decent result, though. So Joel Eriksson is already a race winner in the championship, one of the 6 race winners that we have in the field. Was 5, but Lando Norris joined the party yesterday. He got just the 1 win last year, Joel Eriksson, so looking for his 2nd overall victory.
Minute and 20 seconds remaining in this race.
So a minute and 20 to go, plus a lap. And things look relatively settled, except in this battle for 6th place. Mick Schumacher, Lando Norris, Guan Yu Zhu and Jayan Daravala are all separated by less than 2 seconds. Even further back, we have lots of little squabbles going on. David Beckman just ahead of Ralph Arons, only 1.1 seconds between the pair of them. Habsburg suddenly is flying. He's just done his personal best sector in Sector 2 and the same in Sector 3, so he's now just got his personal best lap of the race. Did a 1:52.0 and took 0.7 of a second out of Marino Sato, who's been the one pulling off some of these fantastic moves. So Habsburg might catch him, but it's still not going to be for the points because they are 12th and 13th respectively. 17 laps complete for Joel Eriksson. So he'll get to the end of this one, then the time will already be up, and there'll be 1 lap added on to the 33 minutes. So we are 2 laps to go, including the one that we're on here. More warnings coming out for drivers. Jake Dennis gets one this time for track limits. Callum Ilott gets one as well, which shows just how hard he's pushing in the number 53 car in second place, but to no avail, because last time around Joel Eriksson was half a second quicker. 2.6 seconds is now the gap, which is as big as it's ever been. So Joel Eriksson is looking commanding here. Joel with some super races and super moves last year. I remember some of the moves he pulled off at Paul Ricard earlier in the season really grabbed our attention. And it wasn't long before Joel Eriksson was on the podium, in fact, because it was that 3rd race in the opening round of the season last year where he got his first podium, 3rd place. And yeah, everybody else was amazed that he'd done it, but he wasn't. He knew, he had the self-belief that he could do it and expected to be up there, and then got a podium in the very next race, the opening race of the Hungaroring weekend. Here he is looking for his 2nd victory to add to the 4th place finish that he got yesterday. For 3rd and so on. Well, he got 4th place and 12 points yesterday. He's going to be on 37 points here. Lando Norris got the win and 25 points, but Lando is further back in this race. He's actually dropped to 9th place now. 0.2 of a second behind Daravano, who's had a good race, good comeback race after a difficult start to proceedings. So Lando Norris had a brief spell as the championship leader after race 1 yesterday. There's not going to be any more. Jake Dennis is going to be up in the mix, although he's not really going to be a factor given that he's not doing the whole season. Callum Ilott, therefore, is going to catch them all up by quite a few points with 18 for 2nd place. On the last lap of the race then, Joel Eriksson stretches his lead out just a tiny bit more to just under 2.5 seconds. Drive-through penalty for car 7, Ralph Aron, has been replaced by a time penalty, it says, though, because it's so late in the race. There's no point giving him a drive-through, so he's going to get a time penalty. It doesn't really affect things because he's out of the points anyway. So final lap of the race, there they go through the Beckett's S's, and number 31, frustrating race for Lando Norris. No such frustrations for this driver though. What a great move to get the lead of the race initially. A typical Joel Eriksson move. He's going to be fighting for the championship this year, have no doubt. Joel Eriksson wins here, and you can see what it means to him. He punches the air as if he's won the championship. He's a born winner, and what a drive that was. Tremendous stuff from Joel Eriksson. There you go, 2 races, 2 different winners. F3 is back. Callum Ilott will be relieved and happy, I think, with 2nd place. Jake Hughes gets his first podium of the year in 3rd position after a very good first lap, a really good start to the race. Max Gunter is 4th. Jake Dennis comes home in 5th place. More good points for the Carlin team. Mick Schumacher in 6th position to add to yesterday's 8th place finish. So he's doing really well in his debut weekend in the championship. Guan Yu Zhu in 7th place. Jan Daravala comes home in 8th. Lando Norris, a frustrating race for him in many ways after that poor start. He was on the front row of the grid. He dropped to, I think it was 7th off the line, and started to fight his way back up. Looked like he might get in the top 6 at one point, having been stuck behind Joey Mawson for a long time. But then he dropped off the boil again towards the end of the race. So Lando Norris 9th. Harrison Newey, with another strong drive through the field, picks up the final point in 10th place, as we see Joel Eriksson waving his way around the slowing down lap and back towards the podium, and deserving of the round of applause that he's getting from everybody around this 5.9-kilometre Silverstone circuit. That was a fine display of driving. The star of the future, BMW certainly thinks so. They've put some investment into him and backed his talent. And another quick Swede wins here at Silverstone. A couple of years ago, it was Felix Rosenqvist doing the winning. This time, it's Joel Eriksson. Quick look back then at some of the highlights from what was another very good race. Lots of battles all the way down through the field. Some good overtakes, some close racing. And they all finished the race. 1 or 2 drive-through penalties, but everybody made the checkered flag. Once again, the VAR drivers were involved in the thick of the action. Harrison Newey storming through the field. Joey Mawson having that long tussle with Lando Norris and doing really well to keep him at bay for as long as he did. Wasn't able to keep his teammate Harrison Newey at bay for so long. High-tech drivers were having some good battles. Good moves further back from Makino Sato in the race as well. But it was that man controlling things from the front. So their confirmation of the results on screen. There are the points finishers. 2.3 seconds was the gap in the end. Callum Ilott gave it his best in the middle of the race. Looked like he might really take the fight to Joel Eriksson. Got the gap down to about 0.6 of a second. But then Joel just got his head down and pulled back away. So it's Joel Eriksson for Motorpark, the German team, that wins the race in the Volkswagen-powered car. Joey Mawson just outside the points in the end. And disappointment for Ralph Aron, who would be expecting to be fighting for wins and podiums this year with a very strong team and with a good pedigree, Ralph Aron, but it's just not quite been his weekend. So right, we get some extended highlights now while we wait for the podium. And there was that poor start from Lando Norris. First standing start of the year for him. No trouble for Callum Ilott. Really good start from Joel Eriksson as well to get himself straight into second place. And it was not long before Joel started to go on the attack, as he tends to do. And you can see just behind them the high-tech car of Jake Hughes making a really good start as well to go from 5th to 3rd early on. 1 or 2 had dramas. That was Ferdinand Habsburg. That's why he dropped back on the first lap of the race. And then that move around the outside at Brooklands to get the lead of the race from Callum Ilott. Remember, the guy has never raced here before. It's pretty impressive. Everybody used the runoff area coming out of Cobb's Corner. And then Jake Dennis was going on the attack with a decent first lap for him as well. And we had Nikita Mazepan, the Russian driver in the 99 high-tech car, going up against Pedro Piquet in the number 5 Van Amersfoort car. They had a duel for quite some time. And Mazepan almost lost the car, but gathered it together. Piquet would have his own moments a few laps later. Joey Mawson versus Lando Norris was a titanic battle, and then finally, lovely move from Lando down the inside at Luffield, having set up the move along the Wellington Straight and through the previous corner at Brooklands. There we had Guan Yu getting stuck into Joey Mawson, got past him, and then Mawson tried to retake him at Abbey Corner, and all the time they were being caught up by the silver Carling car of Jehan Daruvala. There was this lovely move from Sato around the outside of David Beckman. And then this was the move that Harrison Newey pulled off on Joey Mawson to get himself into the points and into the final points-paying position. Again, set up through Brooklands. Drive-through penalties for a couple of drivers, including Pedro Piquet in the number 5 VAR car. And then Lando Norris losing out to Daruvala and losing a couple of positions towards the end of the race. Joel Eriksson under pressure in the middle of the race, but pulling away to win by over 2.5 seconds to take his first win of the season and Motorpark's first win of the season. And you can see just what it means to him. So 1st and a 4th for him, and 19 laps completed in the 33 minutes race distance. And he's going to be right up there on the points, as I say, with the 12 from yesterday from his 4th place and 25 to give him 37 points. Callum Ilott gets himself off the mark with some points as well. Jake Hughes with his not his maiden podium, his first podium of the year. As I say, got the podium at Hockenheim last year. Tomorrow's race is going to be early. It's going to be the first track action because we are part of the World Endurance Championship this weekend. They've got a 6-hour race here at Silverstone, which takes up most of the day. So it's 9 o'clock in the morning British time, the start time for the race, and we'll be on air 10 or 15 minutes before that with our live coverage from Silverstone. So we await for our drivers who are about to come onto the podium, and there he is, the man of the moment. Joel Eriksson stands atop the podium. Prema have been dominating the last few seasons, but if there's one driver out there that could take the fight to them, it might just be Joel Eriksson, and maybe 1 or 2 others like Lando Norris. It's going to be a close season. The Swedish national anthem plays for our race winner, Joel Eriksson, last year's rookie champion. Plenty of podiums last year, 8 rookie class wins, but this is his 2nd overall win in the championship. And he now receives his winner's trophy, gives it a big smacker as well, and holds it aloft. Means a lot to him, and it signals his arrival as real championship contender, which anybody that watched him race last year will be not surprised to find out that he's going to be up there. And well done to Jake Hughes, the Birmingham-based driver here in his home country. His first full season in the championship, already onto the podium. Said to me yesterday, there are lots of talented people in high tech, feel very comfortable in the team. John Ryan from the MSA, Motorsports Association, presenting some of the trophies. And now it's time for the champagne, because they're not any more track action today. Normally would have more action, but they're not racing again till 9 o'clock tomorrow, so it's a slightly drawn out timetable fitting around the WEC this weekend, and they get quite a big break now, so they'll have to be back in action, so they can enjoy the celebrations as they take their bottles of champagne away. We should get a rookie podium as well if we have time, as the podium is rearranged. Joel doesn't want to leave, does he? He's quite happy to be up there as long as possible. I think we might see him on the podium a few more times. There you can see the Silverstone wing, the International Pits Complex, and that's the run out of Club Corner onto the start-finish straight and into Abbey Corner, which Jake Hughes was saying to me yesterday, not really a corner because you just take it utterly flat out in a Formula 3 car. So much downforce do they have. And that is the corner that was catching quite a few people out with those damp conditions yesterday. As I say, tomorrow we might be having some more rain, but for now we can enjoy our rookie podium as our rookies make their way up. And it's been a good weekend for Mick Schumacher. Jehan Daravala gets onto the podium as well. And Lando Norris, yesterday's race winner, the 3rd best placed rookie. So it's a rookie class win for Mick Schumacher. 2 trophies so far, and here's his anthem. The German national anthem plays here at Silverstone for Mick Schumacher, the rookie class winner for Prema. Used to winning races. He was the runner-up in the German Formula 4 Championship to Joey Mawson last year. 2nd in the Italian Formula 4 Championship as well. 5 wins in that championship. So had a really busy 2016 season. Might have won the championship, but he had to miss 4 races at Adria. He was only 15 points behind the championship winner. So he might have won that Italian championship had he been able to do all the rounds. Lando Norris, disappointing race, but he still picks up a pot for 3rd best rookie. And it's the first trophy in Formula 3 for Jehan Daravala, who had a strong comeback. Again, he struggled, had a bit of difficulty in the opening laps of the races, but he has fought back well and getting more points as well. It's 2-point scoring finishes overall now for the young driver from Mumbai, backed by the Sahara Force India team. So they make their way off the podium and will now get the best part of a day off before they're back in action. And who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. Could be a 3rd different race winner. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. From me, Chris Hartley, and the team. We'll see you tomorrow for race 3. Bye for now.